Welcome to the Daddyhood Rocks podcast with Jon Wohlford and Brandon Miller. We are here to encourage you, empower you, and strengthen you so you can engage, level up, and have fun being a dad. We are going to have guests, deep conversations, hilarious stories, and insights that will give you the strength you need so you can be the dad you gotta be. And now, here are your hosts, Jon Wohlford and Brandon Miller.
Welcome to another episode of the Daddyhood Rocks podcast. We're so excited to have you with us. We are here to help you engage, level up, and have fun being a dad. No matter where you're at in your daddyhood journey, we are here to give you a boost to help you become the dad you need to be. Whether you are a brand new dad, a young dad, let's say you married into a whole clan of children, maybe you have some stepchildren or maybe even you're fostering for the first time. You just needing some help along the way. We're here to help you with your journey. We are not experts in the field, but man, we are standing in the field as dads, and we have guests. So far, Jon, what do you think of our guests?
Man, I think we have such a wide array of guests as far as life experience goes and daddyhood experience goes, and even hurts and pains along the way goes. And I think it's given us the opportunity to level up ourselves. Like, hey, I really like how this person does that. I like how this person does that. And I know for me, I've taken away something every episode.
No, for sure. For sure. And the cool thing is, and I love this in my personal relationships, and it's cool that we have it here with you and I, but also with our guests. I love having the ability to have deep, meaningful conversations, but then at the drop of a hat, being able to have, some great laughs. We've talked about some funny stuff, exploding babies with barf everywhere, pee wherever it needs to go, magic poop, grape barf, elephants running wild in parades, whatever it is. We have some great times here, but also learning some valuable lessons in how to up our game as dads. You have a whole bunch of kiddos, and you have lots of experience as far as having fun things happen to you and with your kids. You have opportunities to pass on some stories to them, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And I think stories, whether they are entirely true or maybe stretched just a tiny bit, I think that they provide, we talked about building bridges early on, and I think that those stories continue to build bridges with your kids. And then later on down the road, and I had this happen with my own dad, stories that my own dad would tell now 15, 20, 25 years later, I'm saying, remember when you... And so it just builds a point of connection, and it's something that your children are never going to forget.
I love that. And it's there in any walk of life. One of the most powerful things that you can wield is story. And one of the things, one of the cornerstones of our household is the art of the bedtime story. And what they've evolved into pretty quickly was daddy stories. And usually that is an on-purpose true story from my childhood. Now, sometimes I'll give them the option. Do you want this to be a true daddy story, or do you want me to add some stuff to it? And usually they go for the true stuff, but then sometimes they'll throw a wrench in the spokes and say, hey, just make it a made-up story, Daddy. So these daddy stories have been amazing. For one, it's helping me dig into my childhood. Some things were really memorable for me, the good, bad, and the ugly, and the hilarious and the gross. And being able to pass those on to my kids, and it gives them something to sink their teeth into, and to see me as a fallible human being, definitely not on any kind of pedestal, but someone who is real. I think that's just really important. And I love that your dad shared stories with you, and then you're able to then pass your stories on to your kids. Same for me. It doesn't take magic. It just takes an openness, takes good communication, and it takes a willingness to kind of open up your life to your kids. Some dads find that difficult, or they just don't know where to start. So here in about 2 weeks, there's going to be a resource, a Daddyhood Rocks resource on telling daddy stories. Part of it will be kind of Mad Lib-esque. I'm going to call them Dad Libs. The other part will be just some prompts for conversation starters for telling daddy stories. So stay tuned. That will be available. And I think that'll give you a boost as far as making those connections with your kids. Yes.
I have something first.
You do?
Because I got a Holy Mackerel Moment award. And honestly, I think with the, especially Dad Libs, great play on words.
Thank you.
You really swept me away. So you get the Dirty, Frayed, Glitter-Filled, Swept Away award from the Wohlford household for the Daddyhood Rocks storytelling prompts. I think that's fantastic. And obviously we've talked about it, and I'm like, can I get on board in this? Because you're right. It is sometimes really difficult, and sometimes you begin to play things over in your head, and I'm like, have I told that one already?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's smart and just wise to put that out there to say, hey, here's what we've got, here's what we've come up with throughout the years, and use this, please. Use what we have gifted you through this. So great job. You swept me away, buddy.
Awesome, man. Thanks. Even though it includes glitter, and everyone who knows me well knows that I absolutely hate glitter. So I love you too, John. Thanks.
So but back to the Adventure Challenge, because we can't miss out on that. Boy, still such an awesome partnership that we have with the Adventure Challenge. Super excited about it still. I don't think I'll ever not be excited about the Adventure Challenge. So if this is your first time listening to us, I'm sorry, because you've missed a bunch of great episodes. But to that same end, the Adventure Challenge is just this phenomenal opportunity to engage and level up and have fun being a dad. And it doesn't just have to be being a dad. They've got Adventure Challenge books for couples, for singles, for friends. They have covered just about every relationship you can think of to do adventure challenges with. So go to theadventurechallenge.com, theadventurechallenge.com, and check them out. I mean, they have books. You scratch it off. They have little prompts before you scratch it off. Once you scratch it off, though, you got to do it and take pictures doing it, make memories. If you don't have a camera, they even sell cameras with some of their books. So check them out, theadventurechallenge.com. Use the code Daddyhood, all caps, DADDYHOOD. Yep, spelled that right. And you'll get 10% off. And you help support us when you do that as well, so that we can keep making this podcast known for dads all over the country and all over the world, hopefully.
Awesome. I love it. And so thank you for running with that. Speaking of running, we have an exciting episode. We don't always have an opportunity where we have a free interview night, but we have one in front of us. And I think it's great that we get to chat with each other about the meaning of being a dad. And I think we both just relish the role. And so here's an opportunity to dig deeper, both of us. So stay tuned for an interview with the Podfathah, Brandon Miller, and the Wolf, Jon Wohlford. Okay, I am so excited to be able to have a chance to talk with you, John. What an awesome opportunity for us to be partnering on this podcast. For one, it gives us an excuse to laugh and act like fifth graders together every week. But also we get to have some great conversations with some dads who really are making an impact in the lives of their children. And I'm excited about that. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't give each other an opportunity to have the floor. Not that we are world-class dads, but we have a heart for daddyhood. And I think we're growing as dads. And we care about giving a boost to those who are also in the field. And so, John, thank you for being willing to answer some more questions. I know episode 1, we did like a brief introduction with each other, but I think this is a little bit more in depth. So are you ready?
I am absolutely ready.
All right, man. Okay. So first of all, for you, What are some of your favorite adventures that you've had so far with your kids?
Yeah, for our family, little adventures create big opportunities to create meaningful moments. We don't have a lot. We don't go to Disney World every summer or anything like that. But we do, hey, let's go to the fair. Let's go to the mall. Let's go to the store. Whatever it is. Bethel basketball games. I go to Bethel University in Northern Indiana. Bethel basketball games are a favorite pastime of our family. In fact, all of our kids, our 4 oldest, have mentioned at one point this basketball season, man, I really wish we didn't have COVID because I want to go to a Bethel game. That's just something we do as a family together. And it's not like we spend a massive amount of money on it. It's not like we spend a massive amount of time there. But to know that our kids are thinking about that tells me that we're doing something right and we're creating these meaningful moments with them that they're not forgetting. And so I would say, going to those basketball games, cheering on a team together as a family. It's something we can do together, and it's something that's fun and it's exciting, and every kid gets something out of it, whether it's running around on the court after the game for 5 hours or whatever. By the way, if anybody needs to go to a sporting event, let your child run around on the court if it's allowed afterwards, because by golly, they will sleep phenomenally that night.
So I love our kind of our tagline, helping dads engage, level up, and have fun. As far as engaging, just that deep connection that I think some dads either intentionally or unintentionally miss. For you, when you think of engaging with your kids, what are some of your go-tos or your tips or tricks or tricks? What do you do to connect and to engage with your kids on their level?
Yeah, I think as dads, we have the opportunity to spark that engagement ourselves, and a lot of dads don't take that opportunity. And I'm one of them. I don't always take that opportunity, but I think, if you're intentional about initiating that engagement, it goes a long way with your kids. Your kids notice that, whether they know that they're noticing it or not, they notice that. And for a kid not to have to always feel like they're going to their parent to beg for that engagement, that's huge. They have somebody that is actually wanting to interact with them. And so psychologically, I believe that is huge in a kid's life to know, hey, my parent's coming to me to spend time with me, to do this activity with me. And sometimes it means faking it till you make it. You're not always going to feel like it. I know I don't always feel like it. I'm busy. I could be doing a million other things. But if you fake it till you make it, sometimes you're actually getting more out of it than your kid is. And those are going to be memories that you're going to carry with you as your kids get older and they decide that, being with dad isn't cool anymore. And so that's stuff that you'll hold dear for a very long time.
I love it. That's fantastic. Now, so the next part, so we have engaging, now leveling up, just kind of, it's like skill building or just kind of personal growth as a dad. What's a moment or a season for you when you really saw some growth and improvement in your ability to level up your game, John?
Yeah, I mean, I have a few. I think number one, coming back into daddyhood. So we've talked about my story prior. I didn't see my boys for a couple of years. I wasn't a dad, essentially. I didn't have those responsibilities. I didn't have even the thought process to be a dad. So I had to level up just to break back into daddyhood. And then I had the unique and beautiful opportunity to level up by becoming a stepdad. And so that was a new challenge. And so that was something where I really had to check myself and go, okay, how do I do this? Because it was like drinking out of a fire hose. And so, I was forced to level up. And then even still, I'm constantly forced to level up. Late nights with the twins, trying to ensure that kids get from here to there on time. And, it's all those little things that kind of slowly level you up. that I have to do just because it's part of being a dad. I think anytime that you are doing what's required of you as a dad, I think you're making strides to level up.
You're stepping up to the plate. So now the last part is having fun as a dad. So like you mentioned, you have your twin daughters who are soon going to be 1, which, I mean, that it's been a time warp. It's hard to believe that that's almost already here. And then you have your stepdaughters who have their own idea of fun. And then, of course, you have your rambunctious boys who, and they're always ready to do something fun and exciting. So how do you switch gears for having fun as a dad between having fun with your twin girls, having fun with your stepdaughters, and having fun with your boys? How do you switch in and out of the fun gears with all those kids, that whole flock of yours?
I'm blessed. I really am. I have kids who kind of die to their own wishes sometimes. And they work with each other to create this massive, I don't know, conglomeration of fun for them. At least the oldest 4. I mean, they will literally. The girls don't like Star Wars, but if the boys want to fight with lightsabers, the girls are going to break out the walkie-talkie and they're going to play cops robbers with lightsabers. I mean, it's just kind of how our family has grown together. That was without prompting.
That's
our
beautiful.
Kids do that just because they can. That's just how they first interacted, and so it's continued. For me, honestly, the babies are probably more fun for me than I am for them. I'm a pretty boring dad. I like to cuddle the babies, but as far as thanks for that, by the way. Yeah, well, I think they have so much fun just being them. And they love their walkers. It's cute because we've gotten to the point where the girls are they're using a walker now, and they can't get going without really moving their arms. They really have to move their arms, and they are running in their walkers, and it's so funny to watch them go down the hall because they're just doing this the whole way down the hall. It's like a cartoon character just running as fast as they can. And so honestly, it's just fun to watch them. And so I don't need to do anything because I can set them in their walker and they're off and running and they're having a blast. So, as they grow and we grow together as a family, there's going to be those opportunities. But right now they are just so much fun to watch grow because they've grown into these personality, they're identical twins. And so I think I had this notion that identical twins are going to have identical personalities, and it's just not the case, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I mean, Alexis is this rambunctious, kind of mischievous little almost 1-year-old. I mean, this girl will get into everything. Liberty will, if we let her, probably fall asleep in the walker. That child, I swear we could give her a sippy cup. She just looked like an old man sitting on his front porch with a beer. I mean, she is totally chill. You put her in your arms and you sit back in the chair with her, she's fine. Alexis will climb all over you like you're a jungle gym. So it's been fun to watch the two of them grow into their separate people because I just had this notion that identical meant identical. And they look alike, but they are not at all alike. So that's, like I said, they are more fun for me than I am for them because right now they're just growing into their personalities.
Man, I love it. And good job juggling all these, the various personalities and various ideas of fun. And so I think you've kind of combined, engaging, leveling up, and having fun. So you deserve some sort of award for that. I don't know. I will figure that out. But, okay, so last question for you, John, is here we are in the early stages of the Daddyhood Rocks podcast. Money, not an issue. Red tape, not an issue. who is your top one or two dream guests for Daddyhood Rocks?
I'm going to call out Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson right now. I don't know if you have seen The Rock in his Instagram posts or his Facebook posts, but that man has grown into such a beautiful picture of daddyhood. I'm a chubby late 20s white male sitting here. That's prototypical dad, but you don't see a guy that looks like The Rock very often in, having a tea party. And he's taken pictures of having a tea party with his daughter and watching Moana, a movie he stars in, with his daughter. And she has no idea that he's a part of this movie. She just, it's whatever. And so it's just so much fun watching his posts and seeing this guy that I grew up watching as a professional wrestler and highlights of football film, even as I got older and understood, more of his life story. This massive just picture of a manly man, bringing himself down to his daughter's level and saying, hey, what do you want to do today? And so I have to say that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is my number one. And I have probably 50 guys that are tied for number two. So, I mean, there are so many phenomenal dads. There's one that hopefully, I really hope soon that I can get on, Mike Lightfoot. He's the former coach of Bethel's basketball team. He was there for 30 years. I grew up calling him Uncle Mike. He juggled a national championship basketball team with two sons who then went on to play for him and coach with him.
Wow.
And so what a phenomenal picture of a dad. And for me, from a faith perspective, a Christian dad. And that is difficult when you're in the circumstances that he's in, being a basketball coach, having to recruit, still be a dad, and then still maintain your faith. And so I think that's one that absolutely I hope to hear from one day soon, because he's just a phenomenal picture of a dad.
Man, I think that's great. It'd be awesome if The Rock could join us and if this guy could join us as well. So, man, and you know what? Let's dream big. I mean, if you aim for nothing, you're certain to hit it. So let's go for it, man. So,
absolutely.
And also, I mean, we hit the jackpot with being able to have the Wolf be co-host on this podcast journey. So I feel like I've been able to have this opportunity to work with you and to have just some great times so far. And thank you for letting me interview you again. And that's what I have for you so far, man. So I appreciate your answers and your transparency and just your willingness to kind of open up the curtain for everybody. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I have to say the same about you. You kind of approached me with this project, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I didn't realize just how much it meant, but it's meant so much to me. And I'm one of the few people who can say I have a podcast with my best friend. And so we have a blast doing it. And he wasn't kidding earlier when he said that we get a chance to act like fifth graders. We're going to have outtakes eventually, and you'll see we act like fifth graders. So I think same goes for you. This is a blast.
Awesome. Very cool. I'm glad it's mutual, not just a one-way road here, man. So I appreciate it.
Speaking of mutual, I have some questions for you.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering, you had mentioned previously that your oldest son is a honeymoon baby.
Yes.
And that is an experience in and of itself as a dad. And so what challenges did that bring? I mean, that's like, hey, we got married, bang, here we go. And, you're kind of off to the races. So what challenges did that bring?
Well, nothing too overwhelming as a challenge. But the thing is, so for both my wife and I, this is both of our second marriage. And so we were very intentional as far as kind of getting back into even the dating scene. And we both, like, I had a preference rubric with non-negotiables and negotiables, what I was looking for in a woman. And she had independently a rubric of, would like to haves, have to haves, heck knows. And she shared it with her best friend, and her friend said, no one's going to match this. I don't care. And I remember telling kind of a mentor of mine, you know what, if I don't find someone who meets this, I'm okay being single the rest of my life. I don't want to settle. And so, because we both knew the heartache of divorce. And so we didn't want to jump into something unless we knew what we were getting into. So we both somehow made it through the gatekeeper known as the rubric. And so we knew right off the bat, hey, this is, and we had a pretty short engagement, mainly because we were certain we're serious about this. What do you want to do? Do you want to spend the rest of your life with me? And likewise. And so we were both on the same page from the get-go. And so when we, it was kind of neat. So we had our wedding in near Chicago. And then a little while later, we had a honeymoon / kind of a Mountain West reception for my family and friends out there. And so technically we were pregnant on our way out to the honeymoon. And it was supposed to be under wraps, but I had told a couple people, and so by the time we left our Mountain West reception, the whole room of friends and people knew that we were pregnant. So, hey, I'm all right. And so it was really that's all we've known together. Except for our just our dating and our engagement. We've been thinking about children, this growing little, critter inside of you. When Xander was growing, we had the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. So you kind of knew that your kid was, the size of a blueberry or, a watermelon or whatever it was. He didn't grow that fast. But when we were on our honeymoon, he was the size of a blueberry. I remember that. And so that's all we've really known. And so do we feel like we missed out on, the dating and just getting to know each other? No, because we were super intentional with our conversations, with how we really connected during our dating and also during our engagements. So we feel like we didn't really miss much. Now, once children showed up, once Xander was born, there's no busy like parent busy, especially when you're, late nights and you are beyond exhausted. There's no exhaustion like parent exhaustion. One thing that worked really well for us was we kind of did a split shift. I believe the cutoff was 2 a.m., I think. And what that meant was whoever would get to go first would get to sleep no matter what until 2 a.m. During that time, if Xander got up, the other would get up and take care of, the feeding and changing and whatever. And then after 2 o'clock, we shifted gears. And so then you would know if you were up during that first shift, you can sleep from 2 until 6 or 7. That way you could get some uninterrupted sleep. And so from the beginning, I think we've been tag team champions. And I think that partnership has really, instead of being a challenge, it's been kind of a strength of ours. So
I have to say it's like you guys to have a rubric for dating. It's very much like you guys.
What are you saying?
So, well, maybe you're a little bit analytical.
Just a little bit.
So along with those challenges, obviously, Xander comes, and then you've got Alistair too, and so how do you guys find time for each other outside of time with the boys? That's so hard as a parent. You almost feel guilty sometimes when you get that time alone together. So how do you guys do that? What does that look like for you?
A great question, and it depends on whether there's a pandemic going on or not. So now during pandemic times, so here, since March or whatever, we've learned to make this suffice for us. Is once the boys are in bed and we've been able to get them shut out, we are exhausted, but we sit down next to each other in our recliners in the living room, and we'll talk about, hey, what was the best part of your day? How are you doing? I know that it was a rough day for you in handling work and this and that. So we kind of help each other decompress while we're exhausted, eating ice cream in our recliners. or drinking a beer. Now, once in a while, we do have the opportunity, sometimes during COVID Palooza, to have a small short date, but just for safety's sake, we don't really go out too much. So that's it. But as far as pre-COVID, and this, I am so excited for this to resume, as we do the thing. We've mastered the art of the micro date. If that means going on a 30-minute coffee date before we both go to work, awesome. We both love coffee. It gives us a chance to touch base before the day begins, or maybe at the tail end of the day before we pick up the boys from daycare or whatever. So the micro date works, and then also building into our budget when we're able to, whether it's every other Friday or whatever. It's date night. Let's go grab dinner. Let's go to some restaurant we've never been to before.
Yeah, and speaking of COVID, the last year has been impossibly tough for some people, myself included. I think it's been difficult for you. You've certainly got an interesting outlook on COVID and how it's affected people within your job.
Mm-hmm.
But for you over the past year, what's kind of an enormous source of daddyhood pride? What do you have there for me?
There are lots of little snapshots that are coming to mind. Doing some fun things we've done during COVID, like having a piñata that looks like a COVID, being able to beat the crap out of that, filled with candy, enjoying that for Halloween, things like that, making the most of Christmas and the holidays. But bigger picture wise, I'm going to expand this a little bit. About a year and a few months, we bought our first house. To me, that was a milestone I never thought possible. As far as just kind of between financial difficulties for years, including just some setbacks in my first marriage, and then just struggling to find great paying jobs, finally working through grad school, getting a master's in social work. It was a milestone, not just to say, woohoo, I got a house, but to provide something that's stable for my family. And of course, it was a tag team effort all the way through, Kara and I. But being able to say, what, boys, even though it's, there are things that, little boys like to complain about when it comes to the house. That's not perfect, but it's our house. And so we're making memories here. We are digging in and having a great time in this place that we're not renting from anybody. And so we count it as a sheer, ginormous blessing and a milestone and a huge moment of pride. And I'd say even deeper than pride, I'd say is just a deep gratefulness that we actually were able to be approved, to get a loan, to be able to have a house. And now we're making memories here. So that's where I'm at there.
Yeah, I mean, I think your boys as well, they're going to carry that with them. My parents, after nearly 26 years, will be moving out of the house that I grew up in.
Ooh.
And I have so many memories there. One of them is taking this massive foam American Airlines airplane and chucking it across the yard as far as I could. Just the little things like that. Your boys are making those memories, and they're able to say, yep, that's my house. And they're going to be able to drive past there one day with their kids and say, yep, that was my house. And so I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job. I mean, honestly, our listeners might not know this, but you guys are like super parents. The way you engage with your kids, the way you love on your kids, the way you handle difficult situation with your kids. If I'm half the parent and half the dad that you are, I'm in good shape. And so you are rocking it, and I love you. And yeah, you're just phenomenal. So thank you for sharing that with me.
I'm getting emotional here. Thanks, man. Good jerk.
Yeah. And so with, we've talked about this last year and a few months. What about the next year and a few months? Outside of COVID, hopefully. How are you ready to engage and level up with your boys?
Two things come to mind. So in being able to save some cash and some dough, We were able to get some recording equipment. Probably about 3 months ago, my boys and I created a home movie. It was called Race to the Treasure. Super hokey, but I'm sure it's award winning somewhere. We wrote the script. We scoped everything out. We made some plans for some really high tech special effects, and I might even put a link to it in the show notes below. But the boys were engaged in every part of this movie making, and they absolutely ate it up. And so here in the middle of COVID, we were having a blast making a really ridiculous movie about a modern day pirate trying to steal treasure. And I even wrote a mustache on my face with Sharpie, which is unforgettable. So that type of thing. We're going to make more movies.
That's
looking
awesome.
forward to that. Making more movies together, being as ridiculous as possible with that adventure. And then also getting outdoors, camping. We got an inflatable kayak, super excited about just getting on the water. Just super excited about, getting away, unplugging. And we've had enough screens already, doggone it. Getting outside, enjoying nature. That's how we're going to engage and level up and have fun.
Yeah, and I mean that speaks to just what I was just saying. If our listeners, honestly, you could write books upon how to be a dad because you do such an amazing job. And the movie, what an idea! Like, who thinks of that other than Brandon Miller himself? Because I know I wouldn't have thought of that. You said that, and I'm like, man, I need to make a movie now. And so, no, great job, and I can't wait to see more movies from you guys. We've had fun. We're early in our journey. We're not experts like we've said, but man, we are here and we're in people's corner. And so with that, we've just had an absolute blast doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And I could make a massive list of things that I've just absolutely loved. But what's been the most fun for you as we've gone through this journey?
Apart from all the outtakes. So this will sound, really adult and serious. But knowing that in the middle of having fun and having all these guests, we're doing something that fills a real legit need. And I think I hear from a lot of people that I work with professionally who have been wounded by misguided or absent dads. And the fact that we have an opportunity to change that directly, I get it. I mean, maybe it's nerdy to say that's fun, but man, it's gratifying knowing that we have an opportunity to impact our own children's lives and also the lives of children of the guys who are listening and the women who are listening. We have an opportunity to create some really positive waves, and that's got to be fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about it before. We have big plans for this, and whether that big plan means changing the outlook on a father-child relationship, just one, or whether that big plan changes the outlook on thousands, being able to have that opportunity is massive, and I'm so glad to be along for the ride. It's one thing when you just do it with a buddy, but I'm doing it with my brother and my best friend. And so I am just so excited about what we've got going here. And I'm glad that our listeners could listen more in on our lives and we're able to kind of, like you said, peel back that curtain. Hey, take a look. This is what we've got going on. It's not perfect, but it's something that we're proud of and it's something that's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, well, thank you for just being able to have this episode together. And kind of the man behind the curtain, from Wizard of Oz, even though we're not that creepy, at least I'm not. But
no, you're not.
But man, what a great opportunity to chat. And man, here's an opportunity for you, whoever you are, listener wise, to engage. As far as the podcast platforms go, we're on all the major ones, whether it's Apple, whether it's Google Podcasts, whether it's Anchor, or whatever it might be, Spotify. Find us there, and don't just subscribe, but also rate us. That helps build some magic into this thing. and helps create some more traffic as well. And if you are more into the video aspect, find us on Facebook or find us on YouTube, that thing. And eventually we're going to shift over from the BK Miller channel to a dedicated Daddyhood Rocks channel. Stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, find us, subscribe, and this is all that's going on there. So you'll find us. And on Facebook, we engage throughout the week. So grab a hold, jump in, have a great time. This is the Daddyhood Rocks podcast.